The night it happened, the city glittered like glass, sharp, beautiful, and fragile. Elias Zhang didn't believe in omens, but something about the silence before the crash stayed with him long after it was over. He'd been leaving a late investor dinner in downtown Shanghai, rain slanting across the windshield of his sleek black car. His driver had called in sick, so he'd taken the wheel himself, an indulgence he rarely allowed. The city felt almost peaceful from behind the tinted glass. Neon lights shimmered on the wet asphalt, and for once, he wasn't thinking about numbers or mergers. Then, out of nowhere, a pair of headlights cut across the intersection. A flash of white. The scream of metal against metal. And then nothing. When he woke up, the doctors told him he was lucky. No fractures. No spinal damage. Just a mild concussion. But luck, he soon learned, had a cruel sense of humor. Because when his assistant came to visit, he couldn't recognize her. Her voice, familiar. Her scent, known. But her face, it was nothing but shifting shapes. Everyone looked like everyone else. The diagnosis came quickly: acquired prosopagnosia. Face blindness. He could see perfectly, just not people. For a man whose empire was built on perception, control, and calculated presence, it was the perfect kind of nightmare. They brought in specialists from all over the world, but none could help. Until one afternoon, a quiet voice entered his hospital room. "Mr. Zhang." He turned, and for the first time since the accident, a face stayed whole. Clear. Distinct. She stood by the window, brown skin glowing against the pale light, dark curls tied back, wearing a modest blouse and a badge that read Tamara Bennett, rehabilitation therapist. Her presence didn't just break the haze. It anchored him. The doctor explained that she'd be leading his facial recognition therapy, helping retrain his mind to distinguish and store visual cues. But when they discovered that Elias could only truly see Amara, that her face remained crisp while others blurred, she became something else entirely, his point of reference in a world that refused to hold shape. He didn't like it. He didn't like needing anyone. But Amara wasn't easy to dismiss. She was calm, sharp, grounded in a way that made his own chaos shrink. And for reasons he couldn't explain, her presence steadied him more than any medication ever could. The world believed Elias Zhang was back at work 2 months later, unshaken and still the same. No one outside the hospital knew the truth. His face blindness remained a secret, one guarded fiercely by his legal team and a handful of trusted staff. If the media discovered it, Zhang Innovation stock would collapse overnight. So he learned how to fake it. He memorized body language, voices, perfumes. He smiled at the right times, nodded in the right places. And beside him, disguised as a creative consultant, was Amara. In board meetings, she sat 2 seats away, tablet in hand, whispering subtle cues through an earpiece. "That's Mr. Han, your CFO," she'd murmur softly. Dark tie, blue cufflinks. She became his second pair of eyes, his quiet constant. He told himself it was just a necessity until the line between duty and comfort blurred. He started listening for her laugh in crowded rooms. He began to read her silences. When she smiled at him, something inside him remembered how to breathe. Not everyone approved of Amara's presence. Li Yun, his secretary of 7 years, was the first to notice. Sharp, elegant, and perpetually composed. She'd been Elias's shadow long before anyone else earned the privilege. At first, she thought Amara was just another consultant. Then she saw the glances. The subtle familiarity. The way Elias's entire posture softened when Amara entered a room. It burned. The realization came one night when Liyun stayed late and overheard Amara gently guiding Elias through a recognition exercise, being patient, warm, and intimate. Something in Liyun snapped. She'd loved him quietly for years, though she'd never called it that. She'd protected him, defended him, organized his world. And now, this stranger had undone everything. So she decided to fix it. The next morning, during an important investor presentation, Amara's water glass was switched. A trace of sedative dissolved in it, harmless in small doses, but enough to make her dizzy. Li Yun wanted to humiliate her, to make her slip, just once, in front of everyone. But when the meeting began, Elias noticed first. The slight tremor in Amara's hand. The unfocused eyes. He stopped mid-sentence. "Meeting's adjourned," he said coldly, ignoring the confusion around him. He helped her out of the room, one hand steady on her back, his calm mask cracking for the first time in years. When the lab tests confirmed what had been done, surveillance footage left no doubt. Li Yun was caught red-handed. When confronted, she didn't deny it. "I loved you. I've loved you for years, and I can't stand you being taken by some vermin." Elias stared at her in disgust. He doesn't know why he was so infuriated. By the next morning, Li Yun was gone, dismissed quietly, her access revoked, her career over. It didn't make the pain disappear, but the air finally cleared. Recovery came slowly. Elias's condition began to improve. Faces stopped melting. Edges sharpened. He could finally recognize others, his doctor, his staff, the faces he once faked his way through. But somehow, Amara's was still the clearest of all. When she came to his office to say goodbye, it was quiet. Her contract had ended. Her work with him was officially done. She stood near the window, sunlight brushing her skin, her badge clipped to her blouse for the last time. "I'll be flying back to New York next week," she said softly. Elias looked up from his desk, the faintest trace of hesitation breaking through his usual calm. "Already?" "It's time," she replied. "You don't need me anymore." He rose, walked to the window beside her. For a moment, neither spoke. The city below glimmered alive, bright, oblivious. "Do you know what the doctors said?" he murmured. "They said I might never fully recover. That even if I see faces again, my brain may never attach meaning the same way it used to." She turned to him, quiet. "And what do you think?" He looked at her, then her face, steady and whole. "I think I see perfectly." Her breath caught. He reached into his desk and handed her a white envelope. Inside was a plane ticket, not back to New York but to Hangzhou. "There's a new rehabilitation center opening next month," he said. "They need a consultant. I'm the primary investor." She frowned lightly, caught between disbelief and laughter. "You're offering me another job?" He smiled, that rare, soft smile she'd only seen a handful of times. "I'm asking you to stay." Her voice faltered. "That's not very professional." "I'm not being professional," he said simply. "I'm being honest." Silence stretched between them. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Okay." Elias exhaled, tension easing from his shoulders. He didn't reach for her, didn't try to make it cinematic. He just stood there beside her, watching the reflection of their figures in the glass, the man who had lost his sight and the woman who helped him find it again. Outside, Shanghai shimmered in gold and silver, a city wide awake. Inside, two people stood quietly, bound by something they didn't have to name. He had learned to see again. But the truth was, he'd never seen anything more clearly than her.